Good morning. This is Mark at Wicked Edge Expert Corner, and we have Sunday School Knife Talk. And after introducing the Knife Talk last week, I've been thinking and working on it all week, trying to get myself out of the hole. I opened a can of worms by talking about this, but it is a very important subject when we're talking about collecting knives, collecting chef knives. And I wanted to step back a little bit. I don't know that I ever explained how I got started collecting Japanese chef knives in particular. Why did I choose the Japanese chef knives over European knives, German knives, Western style knives that were in the drawer when I grew up? My father had the Western style knives. What Western style knives tend to have pummels or a guard or a hilt on the blade, and that pummel hangs down below the blade, so it will impact the cutting board before the blade does. Here's another one. This is also a German knife. This is a Hofritz knife, and it has a hilt or a guard or a pummel or a heel. There's a lot of different words that are used to describe parts of knives. Some are for pocket knives, some are for chef knives, and they get used sometimes interchangeably, so I don't know exactly which word to choose, but you understand what I'm saying, that they have this guard on here that hangs down. This one is even with the blade. The knives that I grew up using, this one happens to be a French knife, a Sabatier, and this is a German Hofritz knife. But they both have the guard, the heel or the hilt that can impact the cutting board before the knife does. The other thing is on a blade like this, that it's even here, then at some point this pummel or guard or hilt will need to be ground down to expose some more fresh blade to get it out of the way so you can continue to sharpen this knife. Otherwise, what happens is the blade goes down like this from the pummel, and it loses the shape and the integrity of the blade. This one is a challenge because it is curved here. This Sabatier knife, my dad had the full-on 10-inch chef knife, but it's so thin that I remember his had a hook in the tip, and I loved the knife, but I just hated to use that crooked thing. So the German knives, the English knives, the European knives tend to have these hilts on them, whereas the Japanese style knives don't have these, so that they pretty much are easier to sharpen. That's just one aspect that's out of the way. For instance, here is a Santoku from Hatari, and you can see the shape of the blade. Now, a lot of German knives now have this type of shape where they don't have the pummel or the hilt hanging down. They're like this. That has been a transition. There has been a transition and a blending of knives and knife styles over the years. I've seen it in about the 20 years that I've been buying and collecting knives. I have seen a blending of the European style and the Japanese style, and a blend in the marketing and the description and the actual shape of the knives. The Japanese knives, you can find knives that are very typical, very traditional. The same styles have been made for years, and now there's some Japanese knives that are coming out that are more contemporary, that are taking on modern forging techniques and modern marketing, and they're losing some of the original, how can I say it? The original traditions of blade making is I don't know that it's been forgotten, but it's being changed, and now seems to be more of a move towards selling things that look cool, look beautiful, and some of the functionality that was marketed as being important in the past, that's not being discussed so much anymore. It's being forgotten. So I'm waiting to see where we're going with this, with knives, but to start with, we have the difference. Why I didn't want to invest in German knives is because they have the guards, the pummels. Now, when you're looking for knives, you have production knives, and a production knife is a knife that I consider to be made in mass quantities, and everyone is the same, like clones. There are also production knives that are on a smaller scale. They're Japanese production knives where everyone is beautiful and looks alike, but if you compare these to a Shun production knife, you can see the difference in the fit and the finish and the quality. When you deal with a company like Shun for Japanese knives, or you deal with a company like Wusthof for German knives, they offer a lot of different lines of knives at different price points in their catalog, and they have different shapes and different blades. You can find in the Wusthof German catalog, you can find the knives that still have the pummels on them, and you can find knives that don't. They're trying to market them to meet both needs. And they have different price points with different qualities of steel, from a basic steel up to a Damascus steel, and then to some that are really high-end knives. A lot of these companies, Shun does the same thing, Yaxel, this is a Yaxel knife. They have a bunch of different lines. A lot of them is about the Damascus, whether it's 2 layers or 42 layers. As you add more layers, they get more expensive. Now, when we're talking about handles, this is very important. I have never seen a English Western style German knife like a Wusthof, or the Sabatier is a French knife, or the Victorinox knives. I've never seen any of those described as right hand and left hand. They're all a ambidextrous handle that works for a right-handed user or a left-handed user. The blade is symmetrical. So whether you use it this way or this way, you get the same results, and the blade is sharpened symmetrically. It's a V grind. Usually the bevel angle is the same on both sides. Now, the problem for people wanting to get started collecting Japanese knives is that they have right hand and left hand, and they have a lot of different handles. So I'm going to stop here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk specifically about the handles. Thanks.